But the I-64 is what I've found is the I-944, the new Declaration of Self-Sufficiency, is probably the most complicated thing people are going to file for their own. But in the past, when I have consultations with people who try to do a case on their own or have tried to review it, the most difficult part they've had is the Form I-864. It is complicated. It's not too complicated when you deal with it every day, but the complication is enough where I frequently have officers at USCIS, and I was discussing this at the beginning of the show, where they issue mistaken RFEs that are wrong, and so it's a nightmare when that happens. But they don't understand the I-64. The way they want an I-64 FAA support, and this is a document that shows that the U.S. sponsor for a family-based case normally could financially support the foreign spouse or family member. They submit this contract with the government that says, I'll pay for them if I need to for certain things and all that kind of stuff. USCIS wants to see that you have a job, the U.S. person that's a sponsor, and getting paid a wage. As an employee, gets a pay stub every month and has a W-2 at the end of the year. That's the easy way to understand it. If you diverge from that even a little bit, then they're not going to understand that. So if you use assets or partial assets, or all these kind of things, they're not gonna get it. It's gonna be a big problem. And that becomes a big issue. That's a nightmare we're dealing with the I-864. So you have to make it really clear. I even had a case once where this guy made $1 million a year on a W-2, and we still got an RFE. It was just so dumb. So if you have if you're like a woman filing for your mom, and then you're not making income in that case, and you're having your spouse who makes a lot of money be a joint sponsor, you're going to need to have what's called I-864A potentially, and that confuses some officers that aren't as trained, and that leads to an RFE. Sometimes you'll have a joint sponsor that comes a separate, not even a family member, but they're married, but the income is just from the joint sponsor. That spouse does not come into it, so they don't need to fill out what's called an I-864. But the Immigration Service will say no, they need to, even though we could clearly show the joint sponsor makes enough money. I'm getting kind of things complicated because I'm adding more terminology, but the gist of it is there's a lot of mistakes on both ends, on the applicant's submission of it and on USCIS accepting it. That can be problematic if it's not just a simple W-2 paycheck kind of stuff, even if it's one of those. So those are the times when you have an attorney to be prepared to submit it, to do it well, and also be prepared to get an RFE just to get it, and then be able to respond to that in a proper fashion. That's just the FAA support, and I'm sure the Declaration of Self-Sufficiency, I-944, once those become adjudicated, we still haven't had those adjudicated because it's so new, I'm sure it's going to be a nightmare as well, so we'll see what happens with that.